Lowe's 1767, customer Deberardinis. We're looking at kitchen remodel here where the customer will actually have someone take out the cabinets ahead of time. So at this point, we won't need to include the removal of the cabinets, the countertops, range hood, anything like that. The customer will be going back with the exact same range hood, at least this time, so we'll want to make sure that if she's having us do that, to include that into the installation. The other part is that with the 36-inch sink base, she's going to have an undermount sink with an apron, and therefore that will need to be included and on site when we do the install to make sure there's a modification there. A couple details that I'm going to go over here. The measurement on this wall is actually 89 3/4 of an inch. Currently, 90 1/4 is what we have in the current drawing. It is actually 90 1/4 from here to the exact same point on the wall over here, but the actual back wall is that dimension, so that's important to make sure that we note that with our design. This actually right here, let me put a tape on it real quick. Because let me just see what we had dimensionally there. So 54 inches with the current design is where the cabinets will come to. And right now we're looking at about 50, 52, 53, somewhere in that ballpark. So based on the available dimensions for the refrigerator with this wall coming out here, we'll want to make sure if this needs to remain, I believe it's an 18, or if that needs to be a little bit smaller. Looks like we've got some good room on either side of the fridge, so it should be able to stay the same because it'll obviously be coming closer to the fridge by a little bit. One thing that will be changing, the design shows this as well, is she's not having a cabinet hook back up over here. So your design is correct. There's no cabinet listed there. So we'll have a cabinet with a finished end panel going all the way up. But because they have this installed soffit, where the soffit is staying, be good to consider that when the customer has this taken out, there's most likely going to be a void into the area behind this soffit. And this is just a thin plywood sheet right here. So consider a solution to tie the cabinets into that area to finish up above where that cabinet's coming out, especially whatever kind of trim transition you use to transition between the existing soffit and the new cabinets. Consider how that will apply there. So if maybe a dust board or a skin, something to finish this area that is most likely just going to be an open void where you'll see the framing once this cabinet comes out. She is going to paint the kitchen after the cabinets are installed. So another consideration, there's going to be paint applied to this. May actually talk to the customer about applying ahead of time just to prevent anything from getting on the cabinets there. So anyway, those are a couple things. Everything looks good on this wall right here. It is 138 1/16 from corner to corner. Because there's no fillers on this run, I think it's 1/16 less than what we have in the design. So good thing in your design you have 30 1/4 and the spacing for the stove, which is what we actually install at. It may make that a little bit tighter because of no filler and the actual measurement here. Also, if the walls are a little out of level, it might actually tighten up that gap. Just keep that in mind. Talk about this wall. This is where a lot of the business is going on. We got the window and everything. Looks perfect as far as the Lazy Susan corner cabinet, the 36-inch sink base. The measurements here, the 36-inch sink base is going to fit really well balanced in between the window. I'm going to point out what we have underneath the sink. Talk to the customer ahead of time that because these are all glued together here, this is not, but this elbow and this elbow is, I recommended that she have a plumber come out before we do the install to go ahead and cap the waistline, just a straight up pipe coming out, and to also cut and cap these as well, because if we were to install a cabinet with them as they are, we'd need to make some large modifications in the base of the cabinet. It'll be a lot more attractive if those are capped, and then the plumber comes back out after our install to put the valves back in and to put the trap coupling and all that in there. Also, these CPVC pipes are very close to the back wall. This cabinet doesn't have a skin on the back panel, but if we have one that does, these are real close there. CPVC is fairly temperamental and brittle. This is a 1984 or 6 house, I believe she said. So again, it'd be good to have a plumber address those prior to us coming out. That's an option of the customers to do. Again, with a sink-based location being centered on the window, the location of these are fine. She does have a dishwasher here to the left. I will point out that this actual run of cabinets, so from the corner to the end of the cabinet here, is actually 93 and 11/16, okay? In the design, we have 96. So we're looking at, that's 96 right there from the corner. So if we go by the actual design, we're looking at actually bringing the new cabinets out further than the existing ones. And you can see a transition between the dining room floor and the kitchen floor. Kitchen floor, she's planning on keeping the same. So that's one thing to address in the design, is if we're actually wanting to bring it out past this transition here, which very good chance we would have to modify this floor to do so and affect our overall alignment, because right now your alignment allows for this dishwasher end panel to line up with the cabinet above. It also applies to the fact that the soffit here is that same dimension, 93 and 11/16, okay? So really these cabinets have to fit within that run with the existing soffit for it to look right. We don't want to have the cabinet hanging out past the soffit or anything like that. Another thing I want to point out that's kind of interesting is that these cabinets are all 12 and 1/8 inch deep. The soffit up here is actually 12 and 1/2 inches deep. So the trick with that is installing the cabinets and having them line up really well. It looks like the kind of transition molding they have, it's narrower at the top than at the bottom. But that is going to be an interesting thing if we have to actually bring the cabinets out a bit with shims on the back, or some kind of strips of wood to apply to the wall. Also just the depth of that, because our cabinets are going to be 12 inches, and so we're talking about a 1/2 inch difference between the soffit up there and the cabinet below. So that's going to have to be something that's considered with the kind of material we use to transition, or just the overall design. Let's see, it looks like everything else is fine. Stove outlet's in a good place. Again, the footprint is staying the same. We have a fridge water supply at 33 inches from the corner here over. It's coming straight up through the floor. So that's not going to interfere with our cabinets, even if this does come out further than it does right now. So that's good. I guess one consideration is there's most likely an outlet behind. Oh, sorry. This microwave, the plug is coming, the wire's coming straight down here. So there's no modification to the cabinet. She's not going back with the microwave there. Also, talking about the hood, there is no ventilation out the roof, so no modifications need to be done there. All right, so again, that design detail notes. At this point, if you have any questions, please contact Dwayne, 423-650-1053. Thank you very much.